On my way home from work, my mind drifted back to the conversation my wife had started over dinner last night. It wasn't the first time the subject had come up, but the frequency was increasing, and I couldn't quite grasp why this particular topic was so important to her now. She wanted me to tell her, again, how many women I had been with before she and I became exclusive. She wanted to know if I ever thought about them when we were together. Of course, the only answer to that question is a resounding no. My wife and I had been married for 5 years. While no marriage is perfect, I would have given ours the highest marks for trust, respect, love, intimacy, and friendship, all the things I considered essential. I believed she felt the same way. I truly felt we were living the dream. We had good incomes from jobs we enjoyed, a strong marriage, a beautiful home in a great location, and enough money and time to take vacations and enjoy fine wine, food, and entertainment. My name is William Harrison, but my friends call me Billy. My wife's name is Molly. I stand 6 feet tall, a man of Nordic build with blonde hair and blue eyes, though I have just enough Irish in me to fuel an occasional temper. I learned long ago, through more than a few scuffles, that words were a better weapon than fists. I'd stayed in decent shape, having grown up playing soccer and hockey year-round and spending plenty of time in my basement lifting weights. I still jogged, played in an adult soccer league, and got out for pond hockey when I could. My wife, Molly, had a natural charm that was impossible to ignore. She had sparkling eyes, flawless skin, and lips that drew you in whenever she smiled or spoke. She had a gift for making people feel at ease, for getting them to open up about almost anything. She showed her friends and colleagues how much they meant to her by being a compassionate listener, never passing judgment on what they shared. At times, she could be a little too open and comfortable with people, but it was never an issue for me. She always knew how to steer a conversation back before it crossed any questionable lines. Molly drew a lot of attention. Beyond her charm and vibrant personality, she had a body that both men and women admired. At 5'7", with blonde hair, blue eyes, and a toned physique, she was stunning. She spent 4 or 5 nights a week at the gym to stay in shape. It was her primary source of relaxation and enjoyment outside of work. I often told her I had to fight the urge to touch her every time she walked past me, a fact she never seemed to mind. When I really thought about it, Molly seemed to have the perfect personality, at least, perfect for me. She did have one occasionally frustrating flaw, one that sometimes led to emotional discussions between us, though they rarely escalated into a full-blown fight. The issue was that once Molly made up her mind about something, she would not let it go. She was utterly convinced she was right, especially in situations that weren't scientific or lacked clear, hard data. It made her incredibly stubborn on certain topics, and I could rarely sway her once a decision was made. We had both married right out of college, having dated exclusively for our last 2 years. It's fair to say Molly hadn't had a myriad of different partners before we settled down. I, on the other hand, had been quite active during my senior year of high school and the first 2 years of college, getting to know a lot of different people. I'd explained this to Molly once when she asked how I knew how to please her so well. She had thanked me for the education my experiences had provided, but at the same time, she expressed a tinge of jealousy for the variety of partners and experiences she had missed. Professionally, I was a mechanical engineer at Abbott Labs, helping to design and test various injection molded components for medical devices like ventilators and infusion pumps. I enjoyed the work. It was challenging without being overly stressful and afforded me enough time and money for my hobbies. My latest project was gutting and restoring a 2005 Winnebago camper van that Molly and I could take on week-long trips to the North Shore of Lake Superior, the mountains, the ocean. The possibilities were endless. Molly was a CPA with a good job at one of the top 5 national accounting firms. It was another good-paying, low-stress career, with only occasional travel required to mentor a junior accountant on a corporate audit, ensuring they were trained in the company's high standards. This past month, Molly had taken a few trips with a young associate named Andrew, who was fresh out of school and just beginning his 3-year track to qualify for the CPA exam. Molly had mentioned his confidence and personality after their first trip, but hadn't brought him up since. Life went on. I spent more and more of my free time working on the camper van, growing more excited about hitting the road with Molly as the project neared completion. I did notice, however, that her enthusiasm didn't seem to match mine, which worried me a little. I just figured that after a short trip or two, she would fall in love with it. I also noticed she wasn't quite as bubbly and open with me as she usually was. Our intimacy was still great and hadn't diminished at all. In fact, on a few occasions over the past few weeks, when she came home late from work, she had practically dragged me to bed. The last time it happened, her excitement was palpable. I could tell something had her incredibly wound up. After one of these intense sessions, I went to make dinner while Molly hopped in the shower. I decided then and there that something felt off, and I was going to ask her what was on her mind when she came down to eat. Molly stood under the hot spray of the shower, feeling a pleasant warmth from the time we'd just spent together, but a wave of guilt and apprehension washed over her as well. She had been having lunches with Andrew, her coworker. Recently, she had even accepted his invitation to dinner and dancing. She knew it was pushing boundaries, and she knew their conversations were becoming increasingly flirtatious, well beyond what a married woman should allow. But even then, she was deluding herself. She had become obsessed with this secret friendship, with the idea of spending time with someone new. She knew she was intensely attracted to him, and last week she had made a decision. She was going to be with him. I deserve this, she told herself. It will help me get this obsession out of my system and put my marriage back on track. Billy had tons of experience, she reasoned, even if it was before they were exclusive. She knew he would never be unfaithful to her, and she would never be unfaithful to him either. But she had decided to spend a weekend with Andrew, and now she was trying to figure out how to bring it up with Billy. She loved him so much and never wanted to hurt him, which is why she would never do anything behind his back. It was just one time, she told herself. If Billy loves me as much as I know he does, he'll allow it. We'll get through this and be stronger than ever. She just hoped she wasn't fooling herself, but her mind was made up. When Molly came down to the kitchen, I had prepared a couple of shrimp salads with cornbread and poured 2 glasses of wine. As she sat down, I began, Molly, we need to talk about something, and I'm not sure where to start. Billy, just say what's on your mind, she said gently. I love you. You love me. We can tell each other anything. I need to talk to you too, but why don't you go first? Uh-oh, Molly, I said, trying to keep it light. That sounds a little ominous. How many marriages have begun their end with the "we need to talk" opener? Don't be silly, Billy. This isn't something bad. It's something that's going to be good for me, and I'm going to make sure it's really good for you, too. I took a breath. I'm not sure how to say this, but Molly, something feels wrong between us. For the past few weeks, you haven't been as open and loving as you usually are. Billy, are you forgetting the amazing time we just had together? I'm not talking about that, Molly. But since you brought it up, what was that about? What had you so wound up and excited that you nearly tore my clothes off? Molly's expression instantly tightened, and a flicker of worry and guilt crossed her face. Well, Billy, if you don't like me being that excited for you, then maybe that's your problem, not mine. I saw her defensiveness and called her on it. Molly, I see that look of guilt on your face, and your defensiveness is obvious. Don't you see it? Can't you just tell me what's really going on? Do I have something to worry about with you? Molly looked down, realizing she had let the conversation get off to a terrible start. She had to regain control if she wanted a constructive discussion and a positive outcome. Billy, I'm sorry, she said, her voice softening. That's not what I meant. I need to tell you what's been going on, but you have to know. And you have to remember that I love you in our life more than anything. What we have is precious, and I am so in love with you. So please, remember that as we talk. Molly, you're really scaring me now. Are you having an affair? Are you cheating on me? Billy, how could you even say that? You know I would never cheat on you. I respect you too much. But I do need to talk to you about something, and I need you to just listen and hear me out. When I'm done, you can ask questions, and we can discuss it. Okay, honey? Again, I'm going to remind you that I only love you, and I only want you. I want to have children with you, grow old with you, and always be your partner. What I'm about to tell you might be difficult, but please, just listen to the whole thing. She took a deep breath. You remember I mentioned Andrew, my coworker, I took a few trips with? Well, I've also been having lunch with him. We've gone to happy hour, and even dinner last week. What the hell, Molly? I interrupted. You just said you weren't cheating and weren't having an affair. And now you're admitting to one. It's not an affair, damn it. I haven't cheated on you. But you promised you would listen. Yes, maybe I crossed a line by spending time with him and not telling you. I certainly don't love him, but we've been flirting, and the things we've said have been full of innuendo. It felt a little daring, but still innocent. But that changed when he told me he wanted to be with me. He's 7 years younger than me. He's handsome and in great shape, and I've developed a total infatuation with him. I shot up from my chair, my voice thick with anger and disbelief. Damn it, Molly. Are you leaving me? Do you even love me? Are you sure you haven't already been with him? And this is just your way of telling me? Molly broke down, realizing how her words sounded, how none of this was coming out the way she had intended. Billy, no. I have never been with him or anyone else. That's actually part of the problem. But please, just listen. I only love you. Andrew is just a kid. I could never fall in love with him. But you know I had very little experience before I met you. And I feel like I was deprived of some of the experiences you got to have before we were a couple. I feel a little cheated. And now that I know this young, attractive man wants to be with me, I can't get him out of my head. Today at work, Andrew and I were flirting, and that's part of the reason I was so eager when I got home and needed you. I felt my pulse quicken and my face flush, a look of profound shock and sorrow spreading across it. This was not the reaction Molly wanted to see. She quickly tried to erase her last statement. Billy, I didn't say that right. I love you. And being with you is so much more than that. It's the most fulfilling thing I've ever felt, but I can't shake this feeling about him. And I've decided I'm going to be with him. I want to take this one-time opportunity to have one last experience with another man before you and I get more serious about kids and our future. I feel like I deserve this, and I'm asking you to let me do it. I told you I would never cheat on you, and that I respect you, and that's all true. That's why I'm asking you. But I guess I'm also telling you that my decision is made. Molly watched in stunned silence as I slumped back into my chair, tears welling in my eyes and beginning to trace paths down my cheeks. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. It was just one time. It wouldn't mean anything. She had to convince him. Billy, she pleaded, her voice breaking, I only love you. I only want to be married to you and grow old with you. It would only be one time. It isn't love. I swear I'll make it up to you for the rest of our lives if you just let me do this. I would never cheat on you, and that's why I'm begging you to grant me this one gift, this one proof of your love for me. I shot up from the table, the pain and anger in my eyes finally alarming Molly. I hoped she was wondering if she had already done something to damage our marriage, our relationship. How could she possibly equate my approval with proof of my love? The absurdity of it all. Molly, this is what I'm hearing. You've already cheated. You're having an emotional affair with someone from work. You've already had intimate talks, shared details about us, about our marriage. You've gone to lunches, dinners, happy hours. That's already cheating, if you ask me. Are you sure you haven't been with him already, and this is just your way of trying to tell me you're having an affair? Billy, stop. It's not an affair. And no, I haven't been with him, but I admit I've kissed him a few times after happy hours. Maybe it was the alcohol, but I have to admit, the thrill of someone different, it excited me. This is a one-time experience, not an affair. I will never love him. I will only ever love you. But I feel like I need this. And if you loved me as much as I think you do, you would give this to me. Billy, it's just physical. It's not love. It doesn't mean anything, but I can't get it out of my head, and I feel like I need it. Molly, I can't believe you would ask this of me. You've already disrespected me by starting this emotional, flirtatious relationship with this guy. You've already cheated by telling me you talked about being together. You told me you kissed him. And to me, that's as intimate as if you'd slept with him. I guess I also can't believe how naive I've been. I thought you loved me as much as I loved you, but I would never have hurt you the way you just did. I don't even know if you understand how much you've already wounded our relationship, our marriage. I thought I could always count on you, trust you, and now you've just thrown that feeling out the window. Billy, stop. Stop being so dramatic. I love you, and only you. You can trust me. That's why I'm telling you this. You shouldn't be hurt. This is about me, not you. That makes no sense. Fine, Molly. Then maybe I'll go find some meaningless things for myself. And you can see if you still believe that. With that, Billy stood up, grabbed his keys, and headed for the door. Billy, for God's sake, grow up and get back here. This isn't a bad thing. It's going to make me better after this. Allow me to give you more love and attention in our future than I ever have. Holy Molly, you are truly delusional right now. I don't know how you can believe the story you're trying to sell. I don't know how you can say you love me and then treat me like I'm just supposed to accept your infidelity and get over it. Well, guess what? I will never get over it. If you go through with this, we are finished. Do you understand that? At that, tears started streaming down my face. I ran to the door, to my car, and I was backing out of the driveway before Molly even made it to the porch, calling after me, "Billy, no, please, come back and let me show you how much I love you. We can get through this, Billy, and it will be good for me, and I'll make it good for you." All I could do was look at her with extreme sadness and pain through my tear-filled eyes as I drove off into the night. Unbelievable. My God, what do I do now? Molly sat there, stunned, dejected, and now anxious. My God, how could I have screwed this up so badly? Why doesn't he realize how much I need this and that it won't affect our love or our relationship at all? But deep down, she knew it already had. They had never fought like this before. Billy had never walked out on her, never made her doubt his love for him. And now, she was doubting his love for her. She didn't want to admit she had already caused damage, perhaps significant damage, to her marriage. But she had also already agreed that this Saturday, Andrew would pick her up, take her to brunch. Then they would check into the Eaton and spend the day together. They would go out for dinner and dancing, then come back for more time together, likely Saturday night, and hopefully through Sunday. She planned to spend as much time with him as she could before coming back Sunday evening and dedicating herself to her marriage and to Billy. He'll get over it, for sure, she thought. I know he's hurt right now, and I didn't explain it well, but he was wrong to accuse me of already having an affair and to be angry about something I felt I deserved and needed. She was convinced Billy would come around and their relationship would be even better in the future. After 2 hours, with no word from Billy, she began to worry. He wasn't in a good state of mind when he left. She thought he would call, make up, come home, be close, and let her show him her love. But when she received no calls or texts, she tried calling him. When he didn't pick up, she left a voicemail. "Billy, I'm sorry you took this so dramatically and that it hurt you. Please don't be hurt. I only love you and I want to be with you forever. This isn't about you and me. It's just about getting something I never got in my past out of my system. Please understand and come back to me." She got ready for bed, checked her phone again, and saw no reply from Billy. She lay down on their bed and drifted into a restless sleep. I cried as I drove to the Eaton in the next suburb and checked in for the night. I spent far too much time at the hotel bar, got drunk, and went to bed late. I ignored Molly's calls and voicemails, still in shock and disbelief that she could think this was acceptable, that she could profess her love for me while insisting on spending time outside of our marriage vows. I knew how incredibly stubborn she could be when she set her mind to something, but this wasn't one of those times I could just acquiesce and let it go. This was a marriage-ending mistake, and I had to talk her out of it before it was too late. But was it already too late? Even if I convinced her to say no this time, how long would it be before she just went through with it without telling me behind my back? That would be a final blow to trust, to risk into our marriage. But at the same time, I knew if I let her do it, I would never feel the same way about her again. And if I said yes, how long would it be before she met another man she needed to get out of her system? And at some point, would she resent me for letting another man take her, for not standing up and demanding that she belonged only to me? There were no good options, and I was beginning to feel this was already the beginning of the end. I finally decided my only hope, my only option, was to talk her out of this and get her into therapy with me to see if we could get to the bottom of what was driving her to need another man. Wednesday morning, Molly woke up, reached over to cuddle Billy, and jumped when she realized he hadn't slept in their bed. She thought maybe he was in the guest room or on the couch, but after looking all over the house and seeing his car was still gone, she realized he never came home. This unsettled her. She went to her phone and saw no messages or voicemails. She called him, and he didn't answer. But after she hung up, she got a text back. "Molly, I'll be home at 7 p.m. tonight. Please eat before I get there. We need to talk more and have a serious discussion about our future together." Molly looked at it and at first thought, "My God, Billy, stop being so dramatic." She was annoyed, but then she started to worry about the message. Billy was telling her they might not have a future together, which was the last thing she wanted. She loved him and wanted to be with him. Why couldn't he understand that? Tonight, she would have to make him see. Molly went to work, and as soon as she sat at her desk, Andrew walked up to her. "Good morning. You look beautiful enough to kiss and cuddle, and I hope that's what I'll be doing this Saturday. Are we still on? Did you tell your husband? Do I need to worry?" "Andrew, let me handle Billy. He wouldn't hurt a fly. He's not sold on the idea, but it will be fine. And yes, we are still on for Saturday. I'm very excited just thinking about it." When he left her desk, Molly texted Billy again. "Billy, are you okay? Please know I love you. I want you, and my future with you is only going to get better and better." After an hour, I sent a sarcastic two-word reply. "Yeah, right." She was getting angry at Billy's immaturity, but she was also sad about how much this was hurting him. She had convinced herself that she would more than make it up to him, and he would be so happy with the love and attention she would give him that in no time, things would be at least as good as they were, if not better. On Wednesday, I called in sick to work. After I knew Molly had left, I went back to the house, grabbed my tools, and finished a few details on the camper van. I mounted the solar panel and got it working, finished all the electrical and Wi-Fi connections, bought a new toilet cassette, filled the water tanks, and knew I could finish the cabinetry on Thursday, and the vehicle would be road ready. The work kept my mind off the constant pain and heartache I was living with. With a couple of hours before Molly was due back, I did some internet research on divorce, finances, and counselors, and felt I had a preliminary set of plans for either eventuality. I then walked through the house, made a list of everything that was mine and that I cared about, and had just enough time to get to the bank. At the bank, I canceled our joint credit card and opened one in my name only. I closed our joint checking account and opened one in my name only. I prepaid the house mortgage for the next 2 months from our joint account, then split the balance, writing her a check for 50% and putting my 50% into my savings account. I then went to a pub I liked, had a craft beer and a burger, and prepared myself for our talk at home. Molly got home around 6 p.m. and saw Billy still wasn't back, with no way to tell if he'd been there at all. She made herself a sandwich and tried to think of a way to have a more positive discussion with Billy this time. When Billy walked in, she rushed to him, gave him a deep kiss, and held him in a long hug all while scolding him for leaving. Billy, don't you ever leave like that without letting me know you're okay. I know you're hurting, but I was so worried about you, and I needed to know you were safe. Billy, I love you. Only you. I will only ever love you. You don't have to hurt Billy, because you and I are solid and together and always will be. I wish that were true, Molly, but I'm not so sure anymore. A week ago, I would never have believed you could ask me for what you want now. For me to approve of you spending time outside our marriage and expect me to just accept it and move on as before. It's inconceivable to me that you can tell me you love me and that we'll always be together, and then ask for my permission to do this. Billy, don't you dare say I don't love you. And it's not wrong if you approve, and it's just for one time. Stop being so dramatic and immature. Molly, you want to talk about drama and immaturity? I'm looking at the woman I loved as if she's been possessed by someone or something I don't recognize. I'm watching her try to convince me that she loves me and that I should be okay with her being with another man for a weekend, and that we'll just go back to being the same couple we were before. But I know that will never happen. We will never be the same again. How would you feel, Molly, if I went out with someone else and told you it was just physical? That's not fair, and you know it, Billy. You've been with dozens of women and had all kinds of experiences in your past, and I've had none of that. And to answer your question, no. If you went out and were with someone, then I would kick you out, and I don't know if I could forgive you. And why is this any different for me? Why shouldn't I kick you out? And why do you think I can forgive you? Tears welled up in Molly's eyes as she said, Billy, I couldn't live without you. I love you, and I want to be with you forever. If that were true, you wouldn't be making this proposal. Besides, is it already a done deal? Did you talk to him today? Did you promise him you'd be with him before he even knew what was happening? Billy, why do you have to get so twisted up in this? He's not my lover. At most, he'll be a one-time experience. And yes, I spoke to him. This Saturday, he's picking me up in the morning, and I'll be back Sunday evening. And on Monday, I will be the best and most loving wife you could ever hope for. You were that once, but you'll never be that again if you go through with this. Molly flinched and backed away into the kitchen, slumping onto a chair. She looked at Billy, her voice and eyes pleading. Billy, you have to know how much I love you. Please, don't let this harm our marriage, our partnership. You are my husband, now and forever. My best friend, the one I want as the father of our children. You are everything to me. Molly, we are not even on the same planet right now. If any of that were true, you wouldn't even be considering what you're telling me you're going to do on Saturday. This conversation is going nowhere. I'm telling you, if you go through with this, we are finished. I'll be back Friday evening. Let's spend the night together. Let's enjoy each other while we still can. Billy, don't give up on me again. We have to get through this, please. Friday night, Molly. I'll bring dinner around 7. What time is Andrew picking you up Saturday morning? I'll tell him 11, but you don't have to leave. I'd like you to meet him. Why would I want to meet the person who is trying to destroy our marriage? Think long and hard before we meet on Friday. Billy, no, wait. Please, don't leave like this. Tell me you're okay, that this won't hurt us. Molly, this has already hurt us more than you seem to understand. I'll make you one promise. If you call off this affair, tell him you never want to see him again. And promise me you'll go to counseling with me to work on our relationship. Then maybe we'll be okay. If not, I know we're done. Give me your answer Friday night and think carefully about what you're doing to us. Billy, don't give me an ultimatum and don't give up on me. Please, everything will be fine. Even better after this. Yeah, right. Unbelievable, I said, my words dripping with sarcasm. I turned and walked out the door, went back to the Hilton, and booked a room for Wednesday and Thursday night. Then I called my boss and told him I had a family emergency and needed to take the rest of the week off. He reluctantly agreed, though I didn't specify the nature of my emergency. After Billy left, Molly sagged, resting her head on the table. How could he be so stubborn? She was sure he would never leave her, but had she already severely damaged their relationship? And if so, would going forward only make things worse? She was committed to the idea of being with Andrew. She had such an obsessive desire to try it with him that she couldn't shake it. She decided she would compromise with Billy, telling him she would go through with the weekend, but would be happy to attend and participate in marriage counseling with whomever he chose afterward. She dragged herself to bed and lay there, her thoughts racing. Billy was her world, and this is what she was putting him through. The pain, the anger, it was as hard for her as it was for him. Did she really need this? But she felt trapped. She had already decided she needed it and had already committed. She was convinced Billy's arguments were unreasonable. He'd had dozens of women and could look back on any time he felt restless or bored in his marriage. But she had never had that. This was just one time, and just for her. He needed to get a grip and get over it. On Thursday, after Molly left for work, I went back to the house and began packing my RV with all the things I wanted that Molly wouldn't notice were missing. I also made a trip to the thrift store with all the clothes I never wore and wouldn't need. I took all the tools, sports equipment, and hobby items I had no room for to my best friend Tom's house. I also gave him a few pen and ink drawings my uncle had done, which I knew Tom would appreciate. We sat down over a beer and I explained what was happening and what my options were. Tom looked at me in disbelief. Billy, you're kidding me. Molly would never do that to you. I've never seen a woman more in love with a man than Molly is with you. Are you sure this is what you want to do? Maybe something's wrong with her? I'm not sure of anything. I don't know which way is up, what's down, what's right, what's wrong. My whole world has been turned upside down in a week, and it's like Molly is a different person. I don't understand it, but I know the love I have for her is already under attack, and it's fading with every pathetic excuse she gives for why this will be so good for our marriage. She's lost her mind. You can't just forgive and forget, see a shrink and move on? No. I told her we could do that if she doesn't go. But if she does, I see no way back. I've tried to talk her out of it. Now, I'm going to see if I can give her so many reasons on Friday night that she'll listen to reason. It's really my last shot. Good luck, man. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help. I hate to see you hurting like this. You were my role model, the one who made me feel like a strong, healthy marriage was possible. Well, I guess both our bubbles have burst, because I could never have seen this coming. I'm doing everything I can not to beat this guy up. Well, Billy, if the worst happens, you let me know, and I'll damn sure help you do it. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Take care, buddy. By the way, I'm getting a new phone and number, and I'll text it to you so we can stay in touch. Later, brother. Stay cool, and hang in there. I then went to the Verizon store, got a new phone and number, and changed our current plan to be in Molly's name only. Finally, I went home, tested the RV, and was satisfied with the results. I finished the paperwork, got new plates and insurance, and was ready to go. I went into our home computer, deleted all my emails and personal documents, and basically wiped the desktop of any trace of my past life. I drafted an email to all our family, friends, loved ones, and colleagues explaining Molly's actions and my reaction. Basically, if I couldn't convince her, I would explain to them that she had decided to have an affair. She could use the excuse that it was only physical, outside our marriage, that she had asked me to approve it, and that although I begged her not to and told her it would end our marriage, she did it anyway. I prayed to God I would never have to send it, but if the worst happened, I wanted to make sure people understood what had really happened. On Friday, I spoke with a divorce attorney. I learned that since our incomes were comparable and we had no children, our assets would likely be split evenly. The uncertain part was whether she would get half of my 401k plan, to which I had contributed heavily, accumulating over $200,000. She had a defined pension plan, which made it difficult to predict its impact on the divorce. I felt I had worked hard for that money and didn't want to lose 50% of it. So, instead of risking it in the divorce, my plan was to take the 40% tax hit and withdraw the money before any legal action. That plan would have to wait until after the weekend, as I was hoping to persuade Molly to reconsider. As Friday approached, I felt that our future, our marriage, and my love might forever rest in Molly's hands. I prayed she would make the right choice. On the way home, I bought shrimp, swordfish, and a Caesar salad and fired up the grill. I also chilled a couple of bottles of white wine and mixed a few gin tonics while I waited for Molly to get home from work. She was thrilled to see me in the kitchen preparing our meal. "Thank God you're home, Billy. I've missed you so much, and I hate it when you're not here. Promise me you'll stop doing this. We need to be together." She came over to me, and I took her in my arms and kissed her long and tenderly. "Molly, why don't you go upstairs, take a shower, and put on something nice? Bring a throw with you. And when you come back, I'll put the food on the grill. Tonight, we're going to celebrate our marriage." "Billy, stop talking like that. You upset me when you question our marriage. I've told you time and again that I only love you and always will. This isn't about you. It's something I need to get out of my system. Molly, we've been over this. Let's drop this conversation for now. Go take a shower, let's eat, and let's enjoy the evening." "Okay, but I expect you to stick around tonight and not leave me worried. I'll be back with something special." With that, Molly went upstairs to shower. When she returned, she looked stunning. She was wearing a French maid outfit, complete with a white cap, a low-cut blouse, silk stockings that rose to her thighs, and heels. "My God, Molly, you look incredible. I want you to see what the next few weeks will be like. Let's get the food on the grill. I'm hungry and can't wait for dessert," she said with a mischievous grin. We hurried through dinner, finishing the G&Ts and drinking most of the first bottle of wine. I picked her up, carried her upstairs, and laid her on the bed. She reached for my belt, but I stopped her. "Tonight is for you, Molly. I'm going to make our night memorable, so you understand how good we are together. We belong only to each other, honey. Please, just make love to me tonight, and let's get past the stress of the last few days." I started with a foot massage, kissing and licking my way up her legs. She was already panting and begging for more, but I told her to be patient. We kissed passionately, and I moved down her neck, caressing her gently. We rested for a bit, then got up and showered and started all over again, this time slower and more lovingly. We exchanged kisses and expressed our love for one another. Molly experienced another intense moment and felt completely satisfied. When Molly woke up at 8:30, she knew it was time to get up and get ready. Andrew would be picking her up at 11. She felt a mix of guilt, anxiety, and desire. After the intimacy of last night, she was questioning what she was doing. How could anything be better than that? But she felt committed and had to see it through. I was already up, and she could hear me in the kitchen. She could smell bacon, eggs, and coffee. She put on her robe and went downstairs to see me. Billy, last night was incredible, and I see our future together. I love you so much. I didn't respond, but finished the eggs and asked Molly if she wanted any. I'd better not eat right now, Billy, but thank you. I need to get ready for brunch with Andrew at 11. I have to shower and get ready. Please stay so we can say goodbye. Molly, if last night and our love mean anything to you, stop this now. Billy, stop. This doesn't change my love for you. I looked at her with pain and sadness and just shook my head. I won't leave until I say goodbye. Molly flinched at my pained expression. It felt more like a final farewell. She shuddered at the thought. Billy, I love you, and everything will be fine. We'll be together forever and stronger in the future. Yeah, right, Molly. I'm so incredibly sad that you could even believe that. She flushed at my comment, tears welling in her eyes as she turned and ran to the bathroom. She wondered why he couldn't just get over this and let her have this one experience so they could get on with their lives. My God, she thought, this has changed Billy, and I'm going to have to work to ease his pain. I know he'll come around. He loves me so much and has always given me what I wanted and needed, and this will be no different. She showered and put on her makeup, taking care to wear a tasteful but attractive dress, thigh-high stockings, and heels. When she came downstairs with her weekend bag, it was already 10:30, and time was running out. When I saw her dressed to meet another man, it felt as if she had plunged a knife straight into my heart. Billy, are you all right? You know how much I love you, don't you? And you love me, don't you? She asked. Didn't last night show we could overcome this and keep our life wonderful? I had wanted last night to be something truly special, a celebration of our marriage, a final memory we could both cherish forever. Molly, don't call it our last night together, she protested. That's cruel. You're just trying to make me feel guilty over a meaningless weekend I need to forget. Of course, we'll be together and better than ever. She leaned in to kiss and hold me, but I turned away, holding her at arm's length. I looked into her eyes and pleaded, Molly, this is our last chance to wake from the nightmare you've created. Please, I'm begging you, cancel it all. Stay with me, and let's find a counselor to help us through this. To understand why we're at this impasse and how to find our way back. Billy, stop, she replied. This is final, and I deserve it. You have a past with dozens of women to think about, but I have nothing. I have this strong physical need for him, to get it out of my system. It's not love. It says nothing about our relationship or the love I have for you. Molly, don't you see this changes everything? I implored. Please, stay with me and call it off. Before she could respond, we heard a car pull into the driveway and honk. Billy, enough of this drama. I'll be back Sunday evening, and you'll still be my one true love and partner. The horn blared again, and she added, should I invite Andrew in so you can see he's just a boy who attracts me physically? No threat to what we have? I glared at her, pain and anger boiling inside, and said, "Don't even think about letting him in here." She recoiled, shocked. She'd never seen me handle anger this way. "Please, Billy, let me go. Once it's done, I'll come home to love you forever." She grabbed her bag and headed for the door, turning back to smile at me. But the grief on my face filled her with fear for what I might do, and guilt for the pain she was causing. She blew me a kiss, smiled, and said, "Billy, by Sunday night and beyond, I'll be the best wife and partner you could hope for. I love you." With that, she was gone. I sank into a kitchen chair and wept. I had done everything I could to stop this affair that was destroying our marriage. But Molly seemed trapped in her own reality, rationalizing it as something good for us, something she needed. After 30 minutes of tears, I stood and began packing the items on my list into the RV. Starting in the bedroom, I noticed her wedding rings left in the bowl on her dresser. I slipped them into my pocket as my sorrow hardened into rage. 2 hours later, I had gathered everything that mattered: the paintings, sketches, and sculptures my uncle had left me, all carefully boxed and stowed under the RV's bed. The clothes I planned to take no longer fit my mood, so I quickly sorted them and tossed the rest into the garage bin. Wandering the house, anger and pain churning within, I spotted our wedding album with 40 photos from 5 years ago. Once, it brought joy and peace. Now, it only deepened my hurt and fueled my fury. I dashed to the garage, grabbed a utility knife from my remaining tools, and raced back inside. On every page, I slashed deep into the plastic and photos. From several, I tore out the triangles with our faces and flung them into the fireplace. At my desk, tears streaming down my face and spotting the paper, I wrote my final letter to Molly. I enclosed a check for her half of our joint savings, sealed the envelope, and wrote her name on it. I left the album and letter on the kitchen table, removed my wedding ring, and placed it on top. Finally, I scheduled an email to our friends, family, and contacts for Monday morning. I'd be long gone by then. Turning away, I stepped out the door, climbed into the RV, and drove off from my old life. It was Saturday afternoon, and Molly and Andrew had already shared brunch and checked into the hotel he had booked for the weekend, hoping to convince her to stay both nights. They undressed slowly and lay in bed. Molly felt the thrill of being with another man, excited and desired. But as the afternoon wore on, her initial excitement faded. She reached for her phone on the bedside table and quickly texted Billy. "Billy, my love, know that I love only you. Tell me you're okay and that you love me too. I can't wait to see you." Andrew was eager to continue, and they came together several times that afternoon. But as hours passed, regret crept over Molly. They got up, dressed, and went out for dinner. The meal was awkward, filled with shallow conversation and no real connection. The spark she thought she'd felt had vanished. They danced afterward, but it felt like dancing with a stranger. The physical attraction she'd convinced herself of, now gone. Though Andrew wanted to return to the room, she kept ordering drinks and holding him off until they were both heavily intoxicated and stumbling back. Once there, she stripped quickly, collapsed on the bed, turned away from him, and fell asleep. In the morning, she woke with a hangover and no sign of Andrew snoring beside her. Deciding the damage was done, She resolved to try again for memorable moments with the young man. She attempted to arouse him for something exciting, but it turned messy and unpleasant. As she pulled away, saying, "How was that, baby?" he replied, "Oh, that's disgusting. Go clean up, brush your teeth, and come back to bed." Disgusted, she grabbed her phone, locked herself in the bathroom, and stepped into the shower, scrubbing as if to wash away a plague. Drying off, she sat on the toilet and checked her phone. Billy hadn't responded. She tried calling, but it went straight to voicemail. She sent another message. "Billy, I love you. Are you okay? Please tell me you're fine, and we can get past this. It's turned into a miserable mistake, and I know I only want you forever. I'll be home as soon as possible to hold you and tell you how much I love you. Please, let me know you're all right." She convinced Andrew to go for breakfast while she finished up, then told him, "Andrew, this was a mistake for me. I love only my husband, and this weekend has shown me no one compares to him. I'm going back to the room to pack and leave now. I'll take a cab. Let's not see each other again, at work or otherwise. I'm sorry, but it was a huge error. You were the one pushing for this. Go find someone else." With that, she headed to the room, gathered her things, and left. Molly took a taxi home, arriving around 3 p.m. on Sunday. The first thing she noticed was the absence of the large RV that had dominated the driveway. I suppose Billy finished building it and decided on a test drive or overnight trip, she thought. I wish I'd been there for its maiden voyage. It's disappointing he didn't wait for me. Stepping inside, she sensed something was off before she saw it. The oil painting of waves crashing on the bay at La Encinitas, done by Billy's uncle, was no longer above the mantel. Looking around, she realized other drawings, paintings, and the bison sculptures were gone too. "Oh no, Billy, what have you done?" she cried out into the empty house, knowing no one would answer. Checking her phone, she saw no replies from him. She called again, only to hear the automated message. "This mobile number is no longer in service." She screamed and collapsed to the floor. "Oh my God, no, what have I done? Oh, Billy, how could you leave me like this?" Staggering to her feet, she hurried to the kitchen and fell to her knees at the sight of Billy's wedding ring on an envelope addressed to her, resting on their wedding album. Sinking into a chair, she picked up the ring and stared at it, unable to grasp the reality. She opened the letter and broke into sobs as she read, "Molly, as you can tell, this is my final farewell. I may be a coward, but I couldn't trust myself to face you after you abandoned our marriage. I found your rings in the bowl on your dresser, the perfect symbol of how you left it all behind. You went knowing that wearing them would force you to admit your betrayal, ruining your idea of a harmless fling. I think you truly believed you could be with someone else and return as if nothing happened, that our marriage would remain unchanged. Honestly, I don't know what you were thinking, how you could break our vows, humiliate and disrespect me, and convince yourself it was just an insignificant weekend with no impact. But the truth is, it meant everything. It showed that your love for me, if it existed at all, fell far short of what I deserved and what I naively thought we had. You hurt me more than anyone ever has. You took my love, ripped it from my chest, and trampled it. The betrayal began when you started flirting with your lover at lunches and happy hours, deepened when you kissed him at dinners, and culminated when you thought I'd accept an affair. How could you believe you deserved this? That if I loved you, I'd allow it? I don't understand how your mind twisted into that logic. and I did everything to pull you back from the edge, but you ignored me. I warned that our love, marriage, and friendship would never be the same, but you called me immature and overly dramatic. I urged you to stop the weekend before it started and seek counseling to save us, but you brushed me off. I told you our last night was the end if you went through with it, but you ignored me, assuming I'd fall in line and be there waiting no matter what. I truly don't understand how you could ever think I would be okay with this. It's as if you don't know me at all. And clearly, I didn't know you because I trusted you. I never imagined you could shatter me the way you have now. I suppose I could have stopped you physically, but I knew that if I did, you would eventually resent me for it, and our marriage would just slowly decay. I knew you were deluding yourself, thinking it was just this one time. You've opened Pandora's box. If the experience was bad, how long would it be before you found some other attraction you just had to get out of your system? And if it was good, how long until you wanted it again? It's likely you wouldn't have even told me about the next times, after seeing what we are going through now. But I had no doubt there would be next times, and that you would continue to deceive us both. I guess now we'll never know. I could never be in a relationship without trust, and my trust in you has been completely obliterated. I could never love you again, always wondering if you were thinking of me or fantasizing about someone else. The moment you walked out that door, you took all the love, respect, trust, and friendship you claimed to have for me and cast it all into the gutter. I can never forgive you for that, never trust you again, or even be your friend. I have to cut you out of my life, just as you cut my love from my chest. I have a few practical matters to address. I've divided all our assets and paid the mortgage for the next 2 months. The check enclosed in this envelope is 50% of our joint accounts. Our joint Verizon account is canceled as of Monday. You will need to get your own. I have terminated our shared insurance and credit cards. You will need to get your own. I have removed my name from the mortgage and drafted a quit claim deed in your favor, putting the house solely in your name. You can do what you want with it. Sell it. Live in it. It doesn't matter to me. It's not my home anymore, and I will never return. I've sold my car, and as you can see, I've left the camper. One day, I'll pawn our wedding rings for gas money. At least then they'll have been good for something. There are a couple of things I did in my anger and pain that I should tell you about. As you can see, I've taken a box cutter to the wedding album. You'll find some of the photos in the fireplace. Go ahead and burn them. A fitting cremation for our marriage. I have also emailed all our friends, family, colleagues, and contacts, letting them know about your decision to step outside our marriage and my decision to leave you. You have a day or two to prepare your story, but perhaps you can start your new life by actually taking responsibility for what you've done. The good news for you is that you now have my permission to go ahead and be with whomever you want. Have all the experiences or affairs your heart desires. It would be nice if you chose someone who isn't married, since you've already ruined enough lives. But go on and try to find whatever it was you were looking for that made you throw us away like yesterday's news. You can file for divorce, sell the house, move away, do whatever you want. I don't care, and I leave the decision to you. If I am ever lucky enough to find someone who truly loves me the way I deserve, then maybe I'll worry about a divorce. I've quit my job, cashed out my 401k, and the only plan I have now is to never see you again and to turn left at the end of the driveway when I leave. Other than that, I suppose I'll just forge a new life and hope to leave the memory of you in my rearview mirror. Goodbye, Billy. Molly had to read the letter several times to truly believe what was happening. She could see the faint stains of Billy's tears on the paper where they had dried as he wrote. She stood up, saw the shredded remains of their wedding album, and barely made it to the sink before she vomited and nearly passed out. My God, what have I done? How could I have been so selfish, so stupid? How could I destroy the only person I will ever truly love? I had everything, and I threw it all away for the worst, most pathetic experience with a person who only wanted to get into my pants and didn't even know what to do once he was there. Molly crawled to the living room sofa, curled into a fetal position, and sobbed herself to sleep. She couldn't believe she had been so stubborn, so fixated on her desire to try a new partner, that she hadn't heard or believed any of the warnings and ultimatums Billy had given her. She had destroyed her life in a matter of weeks, and she knew now that she would pay the price for her betrayal for the rest of her days. Epilogue. Billy eventually reached the banks of the Mississippi River and decided to follow it south, from Minneapolis, St. Paul, all the way to New Orleans. Once there, he figured he'd decide whether to turn left or right. During the long hours of driving, he thought about Molly and wondered if he was making the right choice. But he resolved not to make any decisions about it for weeks to come. At this point, he couldn't even entertain the thought of being friends, let alone partners. But if his anger ever subsided, and if he reached a point where being with her felt more important than being without her, perhaps he would open a line of communication. He put the odds of that happening at less than 25%. It would be a long road back. Molly had to endure the humiliation and pain of explaining the absurdity of her mindset to her parents, family, and friends. She knew none of them would ever understand her reasoning or take her side. She could no longer understand her own reasoning, let alone explain it. She had to admit that she had terribly, foolishly convinced herself that this affair wouldn't affect them. She had to explain that she hadn't understood, until now, how completely it would destroy her marriage and how deeply it had wounded her only love. She had to take full responsibility for being incredibly selfish and stupid about how much her fidelity meant to Billy, and now to her. She could see she had lost the respect of her family and friends as they began to distance themselves from her. Every week, Molly called Tom, Billy's best friend, pleading for Billy's address, his phone number, anything. She begged him to tell Billy she loved him, that she finally understood and took responsibility for her betrayal, and that she would do anything to get him to talk to her again. Please, just tell him I love him. Tell him I miss him, that I made a terrible mistake, and that I will do whatever it takes to get through this if he'll just let me try. I will never file for divorce. Tell him I'm committed to our vows, and I won't date anyone as long as we are married. She waited each week, hoping for a call or a response that never came. She stopped going out, living a solitary life between work and home, praying that something would eventually bring Billy back to her, and vowing to wait for him, faithful to their marriage. About a month after Molly's affair, there was a knock on Andrew's door. When he opened it, he was met by a man in a ski mask holding a police baton, who swiftly struck him twice across the head and neck until he collapsed. Once he was on the ground, his attacker kicked him repeatedly. As Andrew lay in agony, the assailant told him he should learn to stay away from married people, then turned and walked away. As time went on, both Molly and Billy replayed what had happened, and neither could ever answer the question of how she could have possibly thought it would all be okay.